Now, this is a lesson for Americans, for American students in the 21st century. Listen carefully to me, people. Nations isolate themselves at their peril. In other words, if you are convinced that you are superior to everyone else and you close the doors to interaction, you might just suffer horrendous consequences. That's exactly what happened to the Qing Chinese in around the year 1800. Powerful forces were at work in Europe. These forces come into full bloom in the 19th century. This is the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution is going to change everything. But here's what the Industrial Revolution is going to do. It's going to make European nations and North American nations invincible in terms of military technology. So while the Chinese are sitting over here saying, we're superior to everyone else, you guys are all barbarians, they're going to get buried by the West. Buried by the West. And it was probably one of the most humbling experiences that the nation has had, and it is an experience which still colors international relations today. So you might be asking yourself the question, why is China so important to the West? I mean, who cares about China if you live in the United Kingdom or the United States? I mean, if they want to sit there and isolate themselves, the heck with them. Well, China was darned important. I'm going to explain why. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to bounce a number off you. This is the population of China in the year 1800. It is 350 million bads. Now that's larger than the population of the United States today. The population of the world in 1800 was only about 1 billion people. So in other words, 35% of that 1 billion live in one nation. So you need to think about 35% of the population gaining access to unique products of the Industrial Revolution and buying them. This was a massive potential market for European and American products. Something else about the Chinese is they had some unique products that really attracted Westerners, and silk is an outstanding example. But an even stronger example is tea. Tea is something that Europeans came to savor. In fact, they were probably addicted to it. Not only is it this massive market, there's also some unique products that Europeans crave, which is going to attract them to this massive nation. So there was a conflict between the Chinese and the Europeans brewing. No pun intended, we're talking about tea. But this conflict is going to manifest itself between the British and the Chinese. And you have to understand something about the British in 1800. They are the world's superpower. They are untouchable. They have this incredible navy, and it is an empire that's based on trade, which this navy defends and promotes. Now, what really hacked the British off was that they did some trade with China, but it was very unequal. I mean, the British consumed mass amounts of tea, and the Chinese had virtually no interest whatsoever in their manufactured products. So here are these British folks, and they are drinking all this tea, and in exchange for that, they want these Chinese folks to buy all their products, and the Chinese are refusing. So this is going to set up an epic showdown. So things are going to get really testy between the British and the Chinese. They're both going to get bucky. And we're talking about the year 1800, but I'm going to back it up just a bit. The Chinese emperor from 1736 to 1796 is Shi Yanglun. Now, the British are trying to court this individual. They're trying to open the door to British trade. They sent Lord George Macartney to try to appeal to the Chinese emperor about the mutual benefits that could abound if they just opened their door to British trade. And this trade mission took place on 1793, but Macartney is arrogant, the Chinese emperor is arrogant, and Macartney does a massive faux pas. He goes walking up to the Chinese emperor and doesn't kowtow. So we're working on this concept of the Chinese kowtow, and this is going to be something that is expected of a Chinese person who is greeting the emperor. Now, one thing, you don't look the emperor in the eye, man. You don't look a living God in the eye. So head down, up, get on your knees, put your face on the floor. That is the way, my friends, that you kowtow. So here's what the Chinese emperor had to say to McCartney and the British. China has no need for increase in foreign trade and no use for Britain's ingenious products. Just flat turned them down. And this was incredibly short-sighted on the part of the Chinese because they desperately needed this British trade. Chinese resources could not support the massive population that kept growing and growing. China had gone through massive deforestation, and they needed wood for shelters for this growing population. They were terracing the side of mountains because there was no way to feed this population. So they need building materials and they need agricultural products from the outside world. And that's just the basics. That doesn't even touch the incredible industrial revolution advances that they could enjoy and increase their standard of living. So China is making a mistake by not opening its doors. Its people are suffering. But a lot of times, when emotions get involved, those things don't matter.